Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Nicholas Shattuck, and I am a sports and exercise science undergraduate for Harvard University. And today I'll be teaching you some fun tricks to learn the axial and appendicular skeleton. There are typically around 270 bones in human infants, which fuse to become 206 to 213 in human adults. The reason for that variability is the number of bones is because the humans may have varying number of ribs, vertebrae, and digits. Also, there may be a varying number of coccyx bones, which I have not added there. But if you're going to put something down in your anatomy exam, make sure to put on 206. Also, you may be looking at that number and saying, wow, that's too big to learn in one sitting. Well, friend of mine, you are a human being that is symmetrical. Therefore, you can cut that down in half. Plus, there are some bones in your body that you don't really need to name them because they're too specific, like your ribs, vertebrae, and digits. Therefore, you realistically only need to know 45 to 50 names, and that's what I'll be showing you in this video. To continue, I'll be teaching you the axial skeleton. There's 80 bones in the axial skeleton. An axial skeleton comes from the word axis, which means line, and all the bones in this part of your body are on your vertebrae, which is a line, basically. In this part of your skeleton, the bones are from your head, neck, back, and chest. There are 28 bones in your skull, which we're going to start. There's 8 in your cranial bones, and then there's 14 in your facial bones. All the bones in your cranium are individual except 2. Let's start off with one of them. The parietal bone. There are 2 big bones in your head. Now they're pair, so that's how I learned this one. Parietal bone. The frontal bone is very self-explanatory. It's the front of your head, therefore the frontal bone. Then we're going to go to the temporal bone, which there's 2 of them, and they're on your temples. So if you need to massage them, temporal temple. The occipital bone exactly means the back of your head. It also covers the part of your brain that processes images. Then we go to sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone is a part that spans your inside of your head, and you can't see that much, but it's actually pretty large, and therefore sphenoid. Ethmoid bone is enclosed. Ethmoid, I know it doesn't rhyme, but it starts with the same letter, therefore you can use it. You can't see it's not very visible, but if you turn your head up, if you turn the skeleton, your skull upside down, you'll be able to see it a little more clearly. Then we go to the facial bone, which is actually the reverse of your cranial bone. Every bone here has a pair except 2. We're going to start with your mandible. The mandible, you can learn this by thinking, women or men like very manly jaws. Therefore, mandible, manly. Maxilla takes off the maximum amount of space in your face. It also controls a lot of the bones in your face. Then we're going to go to the inferior nasal concha, which does exactly what it says. It is below the nose and concha, which looks like a shell. Then we have the nasal, which means relating to the nose, which is your nose bone, nasal bone. Then you have the lacrimal. The lacrimal is where you cry. Another word for tears is lacrimal fluid. You learn something new every day. You have the palatine, which is a bone that you can find in the back of your palate, which you can also see in your nasal cavity here. You have the zygomatic, which is another word for saying cheekbone. And then you have the vomer, which doesn't have much explanation. It is located there and is connected to your cartilage. Auditory ossicles. Well, there's 3 bones in your ear. In fact, they're the smallest bones in your body. Their function is to audify the vibrations you get through your earlobe. There are 3 names. There's molars, incas, and stapes. The way I learned this is there's a mol, and you give that to the incas, and the incas then take back the stapes. I know it's not a direct word, and there's not very historically viable, but I'm not a history teacher. I'm here to teach you the way I learned the bones in the best way possible. In condition, you have the hyoid. Hyoid, I bet if you didn't learn bones before, you didn't know this name. In fact, I didn't know this name until a couple of weeks ago, but the hyoid serves as an attachment structure of the tongue, muscles, and the floor of your oral cavity. The way I learned this bone is high, Yoda. The resemblance is absolutely astronomical. This looks like Baby Yoda. Therefore, I use that to my advantage. The spine, there's 26 spinal vertebrae, or 26 bones in your spine, sorry. There are 7 cervical vertebrae, there are 12 thoracic vertebrae, there are 5 lumbar vertebrae, and there's 1 coccyx and 1 sacrum. The way I learned this is that there's crunchy breakfast at 7 a.m. There's a tasty lunch at 12 or noon, And then there's a light dinner at 5. Then you have the sacrum and coccyx, which you're going to have to learn by yourself. But the coccyx, some people have extra bones, and in fact, some people can attach and curve back and look like you have a mini tail, which is very amusing if you want to Google it. The rib cage. There's 25 bones in the rib cage, one sternum, 24 ribs. The ribs connected to your sternum via cartilage directly are called true ribs. The ribs that are connected to your sternum, not directly but still have cartilage, are called false ribs. And the ribs down here that have no connection to anything, just like Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriends, as soon as they turn 25, are called floating ribs. The appendicular skeleton. Appendicular is just another fancy word for saying appendages or arms and legs. Pectoral girdles. So you have the clavicle and the scapula. There's 2 of each. The clavicle comes from the Latin word clavicula, which means little key, because when you turn your body, the clavicle rotates on its axis, like a little key. Then you have the scapula, which comes from the Latin word scapula, which means little shovel, which it resembles. The upper extremity. There are 60 bones in your upper extremity. You've got the humerus, ulna, radius, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. Imagine you getting scam called by an Indian individual that wants your Amazon gift cards. Well, they may come up to you and say, "How are you? Call me phone." That's the exact way I learned this. So, how can be used for humerus, R can be used for radius, U can be used for ulna, C can be used for carpals or call, me can be used for metacarpals, and phone can be used for phalanges. Now, I didn't mean to be racist, because obviously Indian individuals, obviously there's like hundreds of dialects, but for a second language, they normally have more rudimentary skills. The pelvic girdle. There's 2 pelvic bones you need to know. Obviously, they have different names for the parts of them, which we're not going to get into more detail because they're all Latin and they have their individual names, but we're not going to waste your time on there. The lower extremity. There's 60 bones. You have your femur, your patella, tibia, fibula, tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. The way I learned this is, imagine that you're getting scam called again, but this time the scammer has more knowledge on anatomy. Therefore, they call you and they say, "Fem tib fib, talk me phone," which is a very normal conversation I have on the regular. So fem can be used for femur, tib can be used for tibia, fib can be used for fibula, talk can be used for tarsals, me can be used for metatarsals, and phone can be used for phalanges. Now, you may have noticed I've left out patella. Patella can be used as put on your knee. It's put on your knee. It's literally a floating bone. It's put on your knee, put patella. And there you go. We have now finished with the video. I hope you liked this. There's going to be a lot more coming in the future. But if you have enjoyed and learned something, please like and subscribe. If not, enjoy your day, and I'll see you another time.